All right. So he's been talking about your relationship with your spiritual teacher. And we've been saying that that in the Tibetan tradition, in Buddhist tradition, in your life, the most important thing you can do in your life is to find your personal spiritual guide. And it's different for everybody, okay? I'm not here to sell Geshe Michael. I finally understood that everyone needs a different teacher. And I might fit some of you, I probably don't fit most of you. But it's important for you to find, in Buddhism, it's important for you to find your teacher, your own heart teacher. You have to try to find them. You have to spend your life trying to find them, okay? And then once you find a person who you think is a candidate, the tradition is to check them out very, thoroughly. Investigate, dig into their life, their personal life, their viewpoints, their attitudes, their history, their teachers, check their students, check what they're doing with their time, check everything about them. And only after very careful examination and seeing them in different contexts, right? Like, how do they behave when they didn't get any sleep for a week? Or how do they behave when someone gets angry at them? Or, check them out in many situations. Then only after a very careful examination, then you ask them to be your teacher. And in my own case, I lived with my main Tibetan Lama, Khenpo Rinpoche. I lived with him for 5 years before I asked him to be my teacher. And I was on the porch, and he was down on the stair. What do you call it? The steps to the porch. And I'm like, "Oh, Rinpoche, will you be my teacher?" And he's like, "You lived in my house for 5 years, you served me all day for 5 years. And now you're asking me to be your teacher?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Okay." But after you make that bond, it's a heavy, heavy karmic bond. It's a very, very heavy karmic bond. Much more serious than getting married or something like that. Because it is not dissolved by the act of dying. That bond will stay beyond death. Until you become a Buddha, you will be linked to this person. So it's very serious karma to hurt that relationship in any way. And we've been discussing in this text the karmic consequences of doubting that teacher. After you've taken them, after you've checked them out and committed to them, you can't break that relationship. So we've been talking about the impact on your soul of breaking that relationship or harming that relationship. So we went through already the karma of actively disobeying your teacher on major things. And then we had some stories of Indian yogis who disobeyed their teacher on minor things like picking up a yak horn on the dirt, And then we went through the karmic result of, some people who forgot what their teacher asked them to do. They didn't disobey their teacher. They just slipped and forgot. Now we go to another level. I'm sorry. Okay. Dena Shinyan Tenzo Dini. You okay? Are we there? Dena. Yeah. The end of the first line. Dena Shinyan Tenzo Dini Samshindu Chepa Tachi. Not only should you keep your relationship with your teacher that we've described so far, but matak masamba rangar chepe chache kitendo tamakyang. Matak masamba means unawares, unconsciously, unpurposely. Rankar means just kind of like, what do you call it? Accidentally, okay? You contradict them, or you do something, you mess up your relationship to them. What do you call it? Inadvertently, okay? You didn't disobey them, and you didn't forget their instructions. You just kind of did some boo-boo by accident, just by dumb bad luck. You just did something kind of, you weren't even just thinking about it. You just kind of just did something and then you messed up. Then you did a tiny slip with them and it creates some powerful karma. Okay, he's talking now about accidental, unconscious problems with your teacher. And having to do with Tendel. Chajeki Tendel means, in this case, it means especially when you first meet them. So the first few days with a Lama are considered crucial. The relationship is set. The tone of the relationship is set in the first few days. So there are many stories about disciples first meeting with their teacher or the first few days with their teacher. Okay, so we're going to talk about some of those. Tendel Chama Kyang. Chama means very, very subtle slips with your teacher. Chama means subtle. Kyang. Tendel Sangyen Natso Ongwa. A subtle slip, inadvertent slip with your teacher can affect your whole life. Okay? And that's true of anything you do in your life. You turn left instead of turning right and your whole life changes. You go down Maryland instead of Glendale and your whole life changes, of course. But with lamas, it's 1,000 times more powerful. You make a tiny decision about offering the tea with your left hand or offering the tea with your right hand. And it changes everything, okay? I went to church this morning because I was talking about my old church. So I said, let me go, And I went and it was really wonderful. And I took communion and I was like, I went up to the priest and I was like, I went like this and then suddenly I went, I gotta go like that. And it's just a small thing, because in our tradition, the left hand is more sacred. So I'm like, and then I thought, I just changed my life. My whole life just changed. My whole future just changed, right? From you just went like this, and the same with your teacher. Much more with the teacher, okay? The ramifications of an action, the repercussions of tiny inadvertent actions with your teacher are huge. They change your whole life. And he's going to give some examples, okay? More disheartening examples. Tenda Sangana. Mile Marpa Sang Tongwa Pul. So when Milarepa, the great Milarepa, the greatest meditator Tibet has ever produced, is commonly said, his teacher was Marpa. Okay, Marpa had been to India many times. He had studied with Naropa, and he was not a monk. He was a businessman, and in fact, he was kind of chubby. He was like a real fat cat businessman, and he liked beer. He was a pretty probably they went together, his tummy and his beer drinking. So, but he became a great master, and he's called Marpa Lotsawa. Lotsawa means master translator. He learned Sanskrit very well, and he translated many important texts. So when he got home, Milarepa came to meet him and request teachings. And that whole story is a long story and adventure story. But at some point, at the beginning of their relationship, Milarepa offered him an empty copper bowl, okay, like a fruit bowl, like an empty copper bowl. And in Tibet, it's considered bad luck to give someone an empty, vessel. It's considered very bad luck because it's like offering them an empty birthday box or something. You know what I mean? Like that. It's considered bad luck. When you borrow a cup or a bowl, or you borrow a cup of sugar or a bowl of fruit in Tibet, in a monastery, then when you return the cup or the bowl, you always put a little piece of candy, or you always put, a quarter in there, or you always put something in, because it's considered very bad manners and very bad luck to offer someone an empty vessel. But when Milarepa met Marpa, he offered him an empty copper bowl, okay? And because of that, Tendel Chuk, okay? You're there? Tendo, as we learned before, means dependent origination, but in a very tiny percentage amount of the time, it means there's no word in English. It's the karma of the first few moments of a meeting, of a relationship. So, you meet your future wife on a bus, and according to Tibetan belief, how you behave towards her in the first 3 minutes decides your life together. It's called Tendo. It means, I don't know how to call it, the energy of the meeting. The energy of the first meeting is called Tendo. And Chukpa means he screwed up. Okay? It's a very specific word. It means he blew it. Chukpa means he blew it. He blew the first meeting because he offered his teacher an empty bowl. Okay? He doesn't say it here, but I looked it up for you, the whole story. And Marpa was aware that Milarepa had chukpa. He had screwed up. And Marpa was trying to help him. So Marpa was like, oh, empty. And he grabbed a stick and he said, empty bowls sound great. And he hit it with a stick and it was like, wah, 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 wah. And he says, it's more beautiful empty. He was trying to make a good gift out of it, And then he said, let's make a butter lamp, and he poured a lot of ghee into it and he put a wick into it and he tried to make a lamp out of the empty bowl. So he was trying to mitigate the karma of the disciple right away. And that's a story of how he met Marpa. Then they actually met first out in the fields. Marpa was a businessman and he was a farmer. And he had, I think, 9 wives or something. He was successful farmer. And in Tibet, it was very common to have, it was actually more common to have multiple husbands. It's very common in East Tibet for 2 men to share the same wife, for example. So he was out, plowing his field. And Milarepa showed up. And Milarepa asked him for teaching. And Marpa said, well, let's discuss it later. You finish plowing this field for me. And he gave him the plow and he went inside to have a beer. And then Milarepa, he was like, oh, okay. And Lama asked me to plow the field. That was the first words they said to each other. And Milarepa obediently plowed the whole field. And then Milarepa said, after you finish plowing, come in the house and we'll talk, And then Milarepa came into the house and Marpa was drinking beer. Milarepa was ordained. And Marpa said, here, have a beer, And then he had a moral crisis right there. The first 5 minutes that they've ever met each other in the house. And he's like, he's thinking fast. You can hear Milarepa's mind going, real. And he's like, Lama is offering me something I'm not supposed to drink. But this is my Lama, and this is our first meeting. And this is the first words he ever said to me in his house. And he takes it and he downs the whole thing in one, they call hupchik in Tibetan. Hupchik means finished, in one, what do you call it? Yeah, he got in one quaff. He finished the whole, chug? He finished the whole thing in one, without breathing. Okay, whatever you call that. Hupchik, it's a very important word in Tibetan. We won't put that in the dictionary tonight. But he downed the whole thing. And that, he made up for the chukpa. You see what I mean? He trusted. He said, I don't know why he's asking me to break my vows the first time we meet. And I don't know why he's doing that, but I'll do it. Because I trust him. And he drank every drop, and he didn't want to, and he didn't need to. And he had never drunk before, but he said, Lama asked me, I'll do it, my Lama asked me. So in the first hour, he set 2 things in motion. That's called Tendo. Tendo Tsukpa means to set in motion the rest of your life. In one action for 5 minutes to set in motion the path of your rest of your life. Okay? And he did a good one and he did a bad one. Okay? All right, Tendel Dikpa means to do it well. Everything's in order. Digadue means what in the monastery? Yeah, is everything cool? Digadue. It means is everything in order. And Digadu means, yeah, okay. So Tendel Dikpa means he set his future path on the right path, on the right track. Okay, Dikpa Soktang. So those are his examples. The whole story is kind of long. And anyway, yeah, I got the rest of the story out for you, and that's where he fills it up with butter and he tries to ring it like a bell. And he tries to straighten out the mistake. Okay. Then they go to a tendel which someone else chuked. So somebody else screwed up the first few moments with their lama. Or they had these are a list of famous screw-ups, okay? And Marpa did it with his teacher, who is Naropa. So Marpa also made a boo-boo with his teacher. And they he refers to it, but he doesn't explain it. So I'll go into the detail. Marpe yidam la chak selwe tendel chupa. Marpa chose to prostrate himself to the deity, to the angel, and messed up. Okay, and that's all the book says. And you have to know the story. So I'm going to tell you the story. Okay, it says Marpa messed up the meeting, or the how do you call that? He set events into the wrong trajectory or something by bowing to the tantric deity. So what does it mean? What's the story? Here's the story, okay? You ready? And this is again from Pabonka Rinpoche's own book called How to Behave Towards Your Teacher, okay? And it goes, Ngar Gyagadu, long ago in India, Naropa Marpa la yidam ge dorki tendel ki kingor tende. Naropa called forth the secret world of He Vajra. Okay, He Vajra is a tantric deity, Yidam, and he showed it to Marpa. Then Temba means both the world and its angelic inhabitants. He called it forth into the room. So imagine this whole room is suddenly filled with angels in their world, and you're standing there and you're in front of all these angels. He Vajra means hey diamond, but it's a very high tantric deity. Then he said to his disciple Marpa, Kyuki lama la chaksal lam yidam la chaksal. Are you going to bow to your lama, or would you bow to the tantric deity? You know, who comes first? No, but what did Marpa do? Okay, so my lama taught me, when I learned this one, he said, it's not in the book, okay, but Marpa paused and he said, you know, lamas are a big deal, but you don't meet a tantric deity every day, you know. So, you know, technically I should bow to my lama, but, you know, who knows when I'll see He Vajra again. So I'll just slip in a little prostration to He Vajra, and then I'll prostrate to Marpa, and Naropa, so he made a mistake. Tendel Chupa. Then something interesting happened. In those days in Tibet, you know, we think of Tibet as being this Buddhist country with 8 million Buddhists and, you know, the largest monasteries in the world and, you know, sometimes 10,000 monks in a single monastery. And it didn't start that way, okay? It wasn't always that way. In the beginning, in Tibet, there were these little Dharma centers with like 5 people in them, like smaller than Casa Jardín, okay? And that's the way it started. Of course, if you think about it, that's how things start, you know. So 5 people would be sitting in a Dharma center, and some crazy person would go to India and come back with some scriptures and some training, and they'd start a little Dharma center. And then 5 or 6 people would come, and they'd keep going. And they were not ordained. So The ordination custom started later, but they were all lay people. And then the teaching position became hereditary. So people would, like the Sakya tradition, was passed on for many years from father to son. And it's still, in some parts of the Sakya lineage, it's passed on from father to son. So in those days, this branch of Tibetan Buddhism, Kagyu, early Kagyu, was passed on from father to son. The head of the Dharma Center was the father, and then when their son got old enough, they took over the Dharma Center. In Marpa's case, he had 9 wives, and he had 11 children. But his, lineage, family lineage, died out suddenly. It died out very, very quickly. There was no one to pass on the Dharma Center to. Okay, why? He bowed to the deity. Okay, so that's very serious. It's a tiny thing. It's only a few minutes. It wasn't conscious. You see, it was a slip, an unconscious slip. He wasn't trying to disobey his teacher, and he didn't forget what his teacher asked him to do. He just kind of just did something, and then it killed his lineage. Okay. Dom ki setsun dang. Where is that? Joe temba na Joe selling ba mile marpa temba jetson kabe kumbo slepe wang kong la lok la selap chuk zepa soki zetin gates of sok sungne. Then apparently Pabonka Rinpoche broke down and told some good stories about famous disciples who had honored their teachers and followed their teachers well. And he started with Drom. Who is Drom? Drom is Dromten J, and he was the main disciple of Atisha, who one of the first great lamas from India, who spent a lot of time in Tibet. And Drom is famous because he was a lay person. So, Adam and me were looking at those carvings today. When you get to the carving of Dromten J, he's got a beard. And you're like, what's this guy doing with a beard? And it's because he never became a monk. And he was a wonderful teacher and a very famous family person who became a wonderful teacher in Tibet. So Drom, before he met Atisha, he had another teacher called Setsun. And his monk's name was Wangchuk Shunu. And I looked him up. The stories are not very easy to find, but I believe he spent 20 years serving Setsun. And what did he do during those 20 years? He was mainly asked to watch the Lama's stuff, like a backpack or something. So there's a famous saying about Drom before he met Atisha, Lord Atisha, that he spent his days, how is that? Let me see. Konki namne lama setsun tenkap nimo shunma jowe pongtek tsung. During the day, he spent all his time watching his lama's stuff to make sure nobody stole it. And mostly it was milking stools. The little chairs that you use to milk a cow. It's probably worth like $2. And his lama said, okay, your responsibility is to watch the milking stools. This is 20 years. Okay, so don't complain. And then at night, he also had to stay up at night and watch the house and make sure, because they were in a part of Tibet where thieves were very common. And he got the name the Thorn. They called him the Thorn because he would repel thieves. Okay, and that's what he did for 20 years. All right. Then he met Lord Atisha and became one of the most famous attendants in Tibetan history. Right. He made Atisha's mission happen. okay? And he's famous for showing up at the last minute with waffles and, like he's famous for showing up and saving the day with breakfast, or many times they didn't have money to buy stuff, and then suddenly he just shows up with, a yak load of butter or something, and he's just like that. He's famous. Later generations decided he was a tantric deity. Okay. I had this thing about John Stilwell that I thought he was Jomten Jay. Because he constantly, on the first day I ever taught a class in New York, which was, 30 years ago or something, he shows up with a tape recorder. He said, "We got to tape this." And I'm like, "I don't even know you." And he starts taping on the first day. And that's why we have the ACI courses, okay? And just like that, he used to show up with yak loads of butter and stuff. I got suspicious after a while. Jo Temba means, and then later Jomten Jay. Temba, Jo, say Temba. B-S-T-E-N, okay, at the top there. This is a verb in Tibetan that doesn't exist in any other language that I know. And so there's no word for it. It's like there wasn't any word for Google 20 years ago, right? And that this is a word in the Tibetan language which I'm not aware that it exists in any other language. And it means to take yourself to a teacher, to commit to them, and to serve them for your life. So I don't know any word like that. And there's no word in English. It means, what does it mean? I don't know. Find them, commit to them, serve them for the rest of your life. It's called Temba, okay? So he did it with Atisha, Jo Temba. Jo Wu Serlingba. Atisha in his own day, Temba to who? Serlingba, which is Suvarna Dvipa or Suvarna Guru. And he was a teacher in Indonesia, in Sumatra, which at that time was a Buddhist country. And Atisha undertook a very dangerous sea journey for years to go learn the Bodhisattva teachings from him. Okay, so he also did perfect service. Atisha himself, before he went to Tibet, when he was a student, did perfect service to his own teacher and risked his life to go get the Bodhisattva teachings. Okay, Mile Marpa Temba and Milarepa in general did some pretty amazing service of Marpa. And if you ever get to read the story of the stone tower, you can appreciate the nine-story Gutok. It's called Gutok, 9-story tower, which is still there, I think. I don't know. Anyway, his teacher made him build a 9-story tower out of stones, which are bigger than your, and then he said it was crooked and asked him to tear it down again and asked him to build it up again. And Ken Rinpoche used to do stuff like that. Okay. Jetson Kape Kyumbo Lepa. Then they give the example of Jetson Kapa, who had a lama named Kyumbo Lepa, whose monk's name was Shunu Sunam. Wong Kong, what's Wong Kong? What do you guess? Wong Kong. What's Wong mean? Power, empowerment, tantric empowerment. Kang means a kangba, a house. So any kang is a building. A ngul kang is a bank, silver house. And then a tsong kang is a store, selling house. And then like that, the Wong Kong, what's a sam kang? Yeah, retreat house. So he went to his Wong Kong, Jetson Kaba, and he got plates of gold and plated the inside of the retreat house with gold plate. Okay, just to honor his teacher. Okay, Chuk. Chuk Zepa Soki Zejin Getsu. So our Lama went off at this point on these long stories about these disciples who did a good job. But unfortunately, he doesn't say more detail. He's going to go back to the depressing ones, I think. Shenyan Tenso Dination to Chewa. Therefore, how you treat your Lama is crucial. Tendel dik lek nye chung se tsamgi kyang de dar chungwa yun. Small, inadvertent actions can change the course of your life if they are done towards a person who is your ultimate karmic object. Okay? So normally we say that intention is paramount. We say that 90% of an action is intention. You know, if you try to help somebody but you fail, you still get 90% of the karma. But with very powerful karmic objects, intention is less relevant. Okay? Which means if you slip around your Lama, your whole life goes on a different course. Your whole life changes. The 50 years, 60 years is changed radically by small, inadvertent thoughts or actions toward your teacher. So we have to be you have to be joyful and work hard, but you have to be careful, okay? And watch your mind, okay? Okay, I'll tell you one story, then we'll take a break, okay? Gyaltsab, you know, Gyaltsab Je Dharma Rinchen, which is the principal disciple of Je Tsongkhapa. Je Tsongkhapa had two great disciples. We had 12 or something, but the big two are Gyaltsab Je and Kedub Je. And Adam was talking about the famous book that Kedub Je wrote about logic and perceptual theory, which is one of our projects to translate. So we seek to translate the major literature of Tibet. And if it's not done in this generation, it won't be done correctly, period. Okay? If our immediate group doesn't do correct translations in this first generation after Tibet was lost, those books will be lost forever. No one can translate them. If we don't do it, no one else will. Okay? Really. Or there'll be some unintelligible blah blah. Okay? It's crucial that we do it. The major works. It's crucial that we do the major works in our lifetime. Okay? And that's one of them. Okay? So Gyaltsab Je, Togmar, in the beginning, Jeda Ma Jelkong, just before he actually met Je Tsongkhapa, Tsupe Samba, he decided he would challenge Je Tsongkhapa. Je Rinpoche Dun Junkap Kirap. And then our Lama imparted to us the story of how Gyaltsab Je, the first meeting between Gyaltsab Je and Je Tsongkhapa. So Je Tsongkhapa is, I don't know, the greatest Lama who ever lived in Tibet, possibly ever. And this is the story of how he met his most important disciple. Okay, so I'm going to tell you the story from oral tradition, and I like it because I got this from Geshe Lothar, who's a very good storyteller. And if you go to Sera, you got to ask him to tell you stories because he can like tell you a 3-hour story and it's like 5 minutes past and you're like, wow, you know. So here's the story of Gyaltsab Je. I like this story. And he told it to me for like 3 hours one day. And it was awesome. So, because the book doesn't tell the story. So Gyaltsab Je at that time was the most famous logician in Tibet. He was a great master. He was like, you know, famous in the country as being the greatest logician, like Stephen Hawking or something, okay? Very, very famous. And what people don't understand, he was only a few years younger than Je Tsongkhapa. They were about the same age. And he was already very, very famous. And then Je Tsongkhapa showed up in central Tibet, Lhasa, from the east. He was born in the Far East in a place called Tsongkha, which means onion field. So he was called Tsongkhapa. And he walked to middle of Tibet as a teenager. And he debated the whole way, like a gunslinger. He challenged every monk he met. And he debated with them. And he became a real hard-ass debater, you know. And then when he got to Lhasa, he started teaching. And he took off. He got very famous. And people were like, man, wow. You know, they'd go to his teachings and they're like, man, who is this guy, you know? And then Gyaltsab Je heard about it and he got jealous. And he's like, oh, all my old sponsors are going to this guy. All my students are going to him. And they're all like, what do you call they're all wowing over Je Tsongkhapa, and I don't know what's going on, but it's time to put an end to this guy. So he decided he heard that Je Tsongkhapa was giving a teaching in a temple a little bit outside of Lhasa City on a certain night. So he decided he would go and disrupt it and challenge Je Tsongkhapa and blow up the meeting, So he took off down the road and he got lost. And it's like late afternoon, and he's like off the road and he's lost and he's wandering around these fields, and he comes to a meadow and he sees a little girl is like herding cows, and he's like, oh, I'll ask her where that temple is. So he walks over to her, and he's like, hey, are you living around here? And she's like, yes. And he says, did you hear of that big nose from the east is going to teach tonight? Because Tsongkhapa had a hawk nose. And his enemies, he had a lot of enemies, which is refreshing. And he was called, they called him Big Nose from the East, And he said, do you know where Big Nose from the East is, And she says, wait a minute. And he said, like what? He says, you're Gyaltsab Je. And he's like, yeah, I'm Gyaltsab Je. Because she's kind of cute. And, and he's like, yeah, I'm Gyaltsab Je. She says, you're like the greatest logician Tibet has ever seen. And he's like, yeah, that's right, And she's like, wow, I met Gyaltsab Je, And he's like, yeah. And she says, God, I've always dreamt of meeting you. And he's like, yeah, who can blame you, And, she's like, and I have this burning question about logic that I've always wanted to ask a great logician, And he's like, okay, I'll make it to the temple later. You ask your question, And she's like, well, I got these cows, you see. I take care of these cows. And he's like, yeah, I know you're a cow herd. And she's like, yeah, but I got this question, logic question. He's like, what is it? And she says, look at this cow right now. Look at him. And this cow's like standing there, And she says, his tail comes up like this, Have you seen a cow poop? The tail comes up like this. And then the rump is like this, but when they raise their tail, the rump goes like this. And then the poop comes out. The poop doesn't fall out like a human, okay? The poop comes up and falls like that. You see? The poop comes up and then flops over. It does a thing like that. And she says, look at that cow. Look at how they poop. And she says, I have a logic conundrum. What's the top of the poop and what's the bottom of the poop? Because when it comes out, the bottom is the top. But when it falls down, the top is the bottom. And he's like, and something happens in his mind. Like his mind goes, Koom, and he's like, I don't know what's the top, what's the bottom. I don't know. He's like having a crisis. He's like freaking out, and he's like, I don't know. And she's like, it's okay. I'll figure it out on my own, and don't worry, and then she goes like this. And she's got this incense, she's got incense sticks between her hands and they burst into flame. And then she's got silk on and her hair is like beautiful down to her waist. And she's like, I don't know who the hell Big Nose from the East is, but if you're looking for the incomparable, glorious, incredibly holy Je Tsongkhapa, he's over there. And she like throws herself on the ground with the incense, he's like, and then he's like, okay. She's a goddess, and then he's like, okay, I'll go, and then he goes to the temple. He sees the temple, and he's thinking all the way. He's like, I gotta show this Tsongkhapa, who's the boss around Lhasa. So they have these pandit hats, these yellow peaked hats, and he has a sage's hat. And he says, I'll go into the temple and I won't take my hat off, because you never take your hat off to someone lower than you. So I'll walk into the temple with my hat on, which is a high, what do you call it, insult. In, what do you call it? Break etiquette. What do you call it? What do you call the breaking of it? It's just really, it's ultimate bad Lama manners to not take your hat off. So he's like, I'll walk in with my hat on, and everybody will know who's who. And then Jetsun Kapa had a student named Sako Wumbo, Ngawang Dapa, for whom he wrote the Three Principal Paths, okay? Like he was a devoted, humble disciple who never got famous. And if you think you have problems with Geshe Michael projects, Jetsun Kapa one day said, you're walking to East Tibet and you're going to build a monastery for me. And Sako Wumbo's like, yes, sir. And then Tsongkhapa says, oh, it's not one, it's 108 monasteries. And Ngawang Dapa's like, yes, sir. And he does it. And he walks to East Tibet, like New York from Phoenix. And he's all alone there. He doesn't know anybody. And he built 108 monasteries for Jetsun Kapa. And the last one, there's a word in Tibetan, it's like datsang. Say datsang. Datsang means, what do you call it? That's it. That's it, man. And they called the last monastery, that's it, man. It's called Datsang Gomba. It still exists. One of our Serame Lamas rebuilt it. It's called Datsang. So if you're ever in Tibet, you gotta go see. That's it, man. Monastery. So anyway, he was up on the roof of the temple above the door, 50 feet off the ground. And he's got a very long string and a hook. And Gyaltsab Je walks in the door and he goes, whoosh, whoosh, and he knocks his hat off, And then Gyaltsab Je catches it and walks to the door, and everyone turns around, and there's Gyaltsab Je making the traditional obeisance by taking his hat off. And everybody's like, oh, even Gyaltsab Je respects Jetsun Kapa. And he's like, no. And then, Sako Wumbo's like, and then Gyaltsab Je says, I'll teach this guy something, Jetsun Kapa's already up there teaching, logic. And Gyaltsab Je walks up to the stage and sits on the throne next to Jetsun Kapa, which is high insult, high transgression. It breaks all 2,500 years of Buddhist etiquette. He sits on the teacher's throne next to him. And Tsongkhapa doesn't say anything. And he just kind of scoots over and he keeps going, And Gyaltsab Je's like, and then he starts listening, and he's like, and he starts freaking out. He's like, he never heard anything like that. And then he kind of puts his feet down on the side, and then he's like listening, and then he's like, he gets down on he puts his face into the ground, and he bows to Tsongkhapa. And he said, I never heard anything like that, And then he became his main disciple that night. And when Jetsun Kapa was on his deathbed, he took off his hat and he gave it to Gyaltsab Je. He threw it to him like a frisbee. He said, catch. And he caught it. And then everybody said, oh, Gyaltsab means the teacher's replacement. The replacement of the Dharma King. So he tossed him his hat. And that's the story. Okay? So that's about somebody who got off to an okay start after. By the way, the point of the story is the opposite of what we were talking about before. Gyaltsab Je's intention was to insult Tsongkhapa. But because of the power of his teacher, when he made the prostration, his whole life changed to become the first head of the greatest lineage of Buddhism in the world that ever existed, just by accident. He did that one bow, and his hat fell off. And because of the power of Tsongkhapa, not of his intention. His intentions were bad, but the actions by accident were correct, of the hat falling off. So then he became one of the greatest lamas in history. Okay? Because of the power of the lamas. So it's possible to do the opposite of what we've been talking about. You can have a good intention and screw up with your teacher, or you can have a really lousy intention and by accident make some really good karma. Okay, so that's the good news. Okay, all right, got it? You understand? Intention doesn't matter around your lama. They are so powerful. The relationship is so powerful that anything you do is going to have very serious repercussions. Okay, cool. All right. You'd be born in cell phone hell. Okay. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Okay. Let's take a break. Okay. Okay, we'll start. I'm going to just do a little bit more and then we'll do questions and answers. So if you have any questions, get them ready. Rab Sungne means, Rab is short for Kirab, okay? And this is not the Rab in Rirab, which means highest mountain or something, right? This is RABS, which means Kirab. What's Kirab? Rab means a lineage or a tradition, and Kirab means Jataka. So Kirab means the Jataka tales, or the stories of the Buddha's birth. So Rab means story, and here it's the Rab. He told the story of how Gyaltsab met Tsongkhapa, right? Our Lama. Okay, Rab Sungne. Detar Kunlong Ngenyang. So there can be cases where your motivation is negative, young, but Tendel Sambo Dik, some very auspicious thing happens by accident, and you get off to a good start with your teacher, like Gyaltsab. His hat fell off, and he became the second most famous Lama in our tradition, okay? But his intention was to blow up the teaching, right? Then, so it's possible to have if the karmic object is powerful enough, things can happen independent of your motivation, which is normally not the case, right? So Kunlong Ngenyang, even if your motivation is bad, Tendel Sangbo Dikpa, it's possible to get off to, it's possible to set in motion events which will make your whole life happy, okay? And the opposite is true. Somebody tell me what that means. You have a good motivation, but you offer an empty bowl or something like that, and you mess up, and that changes the course of your life. Okay. Kunlong Sangyang Tendel Chukpa, not so ongwe means all kinds of stuff can happen. There's a whole variety of stuff can happen. Subga, sup, GZAB. This sup is very unusual. Most people don't know it. It means you gotta be careful. You gotta watch your step. Okay, sup means watch your step or be careful. Or you're walking out on some ice and the person will go sup cheda. Be careful. Take care. What's it around your teacher? Sup che. It's like ice. Like be careful. All right, a small slip and you break Bengami broke his arm in New York. He just slipped on the ice and he broke his arm. Okay. And who was that other person? Ori's friend's brother smashed his leg on the same night, right? Just a small slip, But cars are like that. You look over there and I saw an accident in a truck driver he dropped his water bottle. He looked down. 6 cars had stopped in front of him and he crushed all of them. And we saw him on the side of the road. with his head in his hands, and I thought he was gonna kill himself or something. He just reached down for his water bottle. He ducked for a second. And at that second, there was an accident on the other side of the road, and 6 cars stopped, and he crushed all of them. And it's the same with your Lama. Like, don't look down for a second. Be very careful. Be very, very mindful. And in a happy way, in a joyful way. If you're paranoid all the time, it's probably not going to come out very well. If you're right. You have to be relaxed and joyful. And very, very mindful. Okay. All right. He goes off on a small point that I would like to address also. Rangjak Lame Tsenjupana. He's been on the subject of unintentional slips with your teacher, right? And now he's going to talk about how you talk about your teacher. How do you refer to your teacher? He says, Rangchak means people like us, and that's the charitable first person plural. Lame Tsenjupana, when we mention our Lama's name, so he has used the honorific for name. Tsen means honorable name. What's the unhonorable? Ming. Yeah, Ming. Mingzi also, right? In Chinese. They may be related, I don't know. Nope. Anyway, Ming means name. But it's unhonorific. It's the non-honorific. And then Sen is the way it's the word you use for your Lama's name. His holy name. Holy name, okay? Sen, when we mention our Lama's name, Kushab Su Shikma Dan Kushab Chi Shikpa Ser She Ser Me means in colloquial Tibetan, Kushab, which means the holy feet of his holy body, is Kusho. We say Kusho. Say Kusho. Kusho is a corruption. It's a colloquial corruption for Kushab. So here's the written version, Kushab. And that's the honorific word that you use in Tibet for Mr. Okay, or you always refer to chukos as kusho. You don't call them, so in Russian there's a word, господин, which means sir, as opposed to, and then later it became like sotrudnik, or in the revolution in Russia, they banned the use of the word господин, which means honorable sir, like that, okay? And they changed it to comrade. You know what I mean? So it's honorific. Kusho means sir. But you're not to use it with a Lama. You're not supposed. He's saying, don't call your Lama sir. Don't call them Mr. Mike or something. Don't call them that. Kushab Su Shikma means Mr. So-and-so. Or Kushab Chi Shikpa means Mr. What's his name? Okay. Don't use lesser honorific forms for your Lama. Shikpa She Serma. I admit that we do that, but Detar Mijawar, you shouldn't do that. When you talk about my Lama said something, you should say Shalngane, or I met my Lama Shalngane. Shal is the honorific, high honorific for the mouth or the face. Ngane means from in front of the face. Nga means in front of Nne. And I usually translate it as the holy lips of my Lama. So you don't say my Lama said. In Tibetan, you never refer to your Lama and say, my Lama said. Okay? Pabonko Rinpoche himself, whenever he spoke about his own teacher, would say, thus I heard from the holy lips of my teacher. You see, my high teacher. He wouldn't say my Lama said. And I think it'd be a little cumbersome in our context, but I'm just saying to refer to them respectfully. That's the idea. Shesa. Shesa here is an important word. Shesa means the honorific form of words. So in the case of, in Tibetan, there are several languages. There's a Pelke, which means colloquial. Then there's Shesa, which means honorific. And then there's high honorific. So that every body part has two words. This is Mik or Chen. Chen Resik, right? Loving eyes. We don't say Mik Resik. You can't use the non-honorific for a tantric deity. You use the high honorific, okay? Mostly body parts. Shesa Danche Senjogo, you must speak of your Lama in hushed, reverent tones. Okay? Jowo Selingbe Senjupana, when Lord Atisha would mention his Lama's name, which Lama? Serlingba, the Lama of the Golden Isle, meaning Sumatra in Indonesia. Jupana, Chak Talmojar, he would always go, Serlingba. Just what do you call it? Reflexively, he would say, I was thinking about what Serlingba said, and he couldn't stop himself. He would automatically go like this when he said his Lama's name. Senamishe Talmojane, Che Judze means he would speak in reverent tones of his teacher. Shenki Serlingba Sengu Dakpa Chungna. If another person said his teacher's name, we call naked name, Sen Gemma. If they said his name without respect, he would be like, he would get upset. If someone spoke of his teacher lightly, he would get really upset. Okay. Kowa Kyang. Kowa Kyang Dagni Dopa Minyang. This is a very rare personal statement by Pabon Rinpoche. It's very rare in scripture that a Lama will make a very personal statement. So he's Kowa Kyang means I also. Dagni Dopa Minyang. I'm not trying to, what do you call it? Praise myself. Or I'm not trying to say what a nice person I am. But Kyang, Lama Rinpoche Tulchung Du Dokpa Tongwana, when people speak of my own teacher's name lightly, Yi Mi Dewa Chembo Oyen, it's extremely uncomfortable for me. I really don't like it, And I also have the same experience. When someone mentions my Lama's name in a lightly, it feels really, really bad. It really hurts me, and I don't feel comfortable with that person after that. So you have to be aware of that. Okay. Deyang Shal Shukbet say. Then there's a custom in Tibet, and we're about to finish the third class. Then we'll do questions. Sen Jupaka means whose name I speak only with great difficulty. And it's an expression used in Tibet when you speak of your Lama. So it's a tradition to say, Ken Rinpoche, whose name I utter only with great purpose. Otherwise, I wouldn't dare to speak the name. I wouldn't mention his name in public, but I have to. I want to tell you a story about him, so I have to tell you who it is. So it's a custom in Tibet to say, Ken Rinpoche, whose name I utter only with great need. Okay, that's a tradition. And then he's saying, don't say that, don't use that traditional expression if your Lama is still in the world. He's just saying it's traditional to use it for if your Lama has passed from this world. Then you say, it's hard for me to mention his name, but I mention it. Okay, like that. Dene Laryang Kongi Sapchen Namla Kyarshe Ding Dunyi Zezdo. Then, it was time to end the class, but Pabonko Rinpoche went on for a few more hours. So I'm going to spare you. But he repeated all the stories again. And then he repeated them a third time. At the original teaching, he repeated all of the stories a second time. And then he repeated them a third time. Okay? Get it? I don't have to do that, right? Okay. Americans are busy people. They have to move on. Okay. All right. We have about 15 minutes if anyone has a question. If you don't have a question, I'll go on. But I think it's appropriate time to ask a question. These are, by the way, I want to say something. These are hard topics to teach, and they are hard topics to learn, especially in a culture which has never had anything like a heart teacher tradition. We just don't have it. And it seems culty, or it seems extreme, or it seems too much, or it seems, people bow down. I get complaints from other people. And it just seems weird in our culture to speak in such extreme terms about this subject. But it's true, and it's correct. And it's hard for me to teach it to Americans. That, frankly, to teach in China is much easier because they have that tradition. They never call me Michael. They don't ever call a DCI teacher anything but Lao Shi, means honorable teacher. I mean, an 80-year-old Chinese woman will refer to Orid as Orid Lao Shi, and they will be very respectful. And it's a beautiful, in my opinion, it's something we could learn. And it's something healthy and something beautiful and elegant and graceful. So I'm not trying to be culty, and I'm not trying to, be weird. I just consider it us to be barbaric in this sense, and other cultures to have, they're more cultivated and evolved. Their attitude towards teachers in Asia, I think it's beautiful, and I think it's very sweet. And I think we can catch up, you know what I mean? If we try hard, artificially, we can catch up to a place where we have this very sweet tradition of a disciple-teacher relationship is revived in our culture. And I don't personally feel it as anything weird or inappropriate or culty. I don't feel that way at all. I think it's very elegant and gracious and beautiful, and it feels right to me, and it just feels like home to me. So I encourage you to think of that. I'm not trying to make you weird. I'm just trying to turn you on to something very elegant. It's like French culture, It's like unbelievable, It's just something cool. And so is this culture. The culture of being a disciple is I think it's very, extremely beautiful. I did it for 25 years, and it was cool, and I was really happy, and I'm still happy about it. Okay, Cecile had a question, I think.
So there's a karma for somebody to have some kind of suffering. But what about the person who is friend or a relative to this person who is suffering and who is living the pain of his friend or his person of his family? I guess there's a seed for that, and I would like to know what kind of seed you can plant, not to have to be by the side of somebody who is suffering.
Yeah. Okay. Good. I'm going to go off a little bit on collective karma, okay? Like, is it possible to collect a karma with someone else, right? And is it possible to transfer a karma between people? So the first question, that question is clear. It's very clear cut. We cannot transfer karmas. I cannot give you the karma to speak Tibetan tomorrow. And, I can't learn the karma to speak French. Even if we tried for 10 years, we proved that already. You can't give someone a karmic seed. That's not possible. Karma is accumulated per individual because individuals themselves are simply the firing of a line of karmas. And that's very subtle. What you call Michael, through time, is a successive firing of a certain number of karmic seeds. So, by definition, I can't share a karma with you because I am the firing of my own seeds. That's who Michael is over time, through time, like a stream of seeds going off. So I can't share them with you, or we would be Michael or something. You see what I mean? And we're not. And that will be true forever. Each person gets enlightened separately. And after you get enlightened, you continue to have your individual identity. You don't mix with all other Buddhas or something like that. Can you collect a group karma? Duh. You know what I mean? We're all together tonight because we knew each other in the past. And we did something very sweet together. And therefore, we get to have the privilege to sit together and talk about something holy together in a country which doesn't normally do that. We were talking about the other day, DCI is a weird thing because people pay to come to hear someone talk for 3 hours. And we don't do that. We don't have storytellers in our culture anymore. You don't go to someone's house and listen to stories for 3 hours. You listen to your iPod or TV, but it's no tradition anymore of a storyteller. But we're still there. It's very weird. It's very unusual to go someplace and listen to someone for 3 hours. But we're doing it tonight. And it's because we all collected a certain karma together in the past. So it's not a mistake that you came here. It's not random. We knew each other. I was probably your student. You made me sit on my butt for 3 hours, and now I get to make you sit on your butt for 3 hours and wander. So it's definitely possible to collect karmas together. Now, what you're talking about is a relationship like a family relationship where you feel close to your brother or your mother, and your mother starts going through a hard time. And then their mind starts to get, I'm guessing what you're saying is, their mind starts to get a little disturbed. And then because you're close to them, your mind gets disturbed also. And in Buddhism, that doesn't have to be the case. If it's happening, it's not because they got disturbed and then you got disturbed from them. It's that the same karma, one single karma seed, is ripening into your perception of a disturbed mom or sister, and then you're feeling your own mind be disturbed. Those two disturbed minds are flowing from one seed. In this case, your perception of a disturbed person next to you, and then you getting disturbed because they're disturbed. That's not what's happening. They're not affecting you. They're not causing you to be disturbed. If you're around a depressed person and you start to get depressed, it's not because they're depressed. It's that you planted the seed to create a depressed person near you, and that seed is also making you depressed. It's like this, okay? One seed has split into two depressed people, and it's not that this person's making this person upset or depressed. So you can't blame your environment, or you can't blame your friends for being down and then they made you down. There's no such thing. You created one seed which created them in your life and you in their life. So how do you fix it? Whatever the problem is, like they're disturbed about a relationship or they're sad about losing someone, you have to help someone with the same problem. And that's all. And then two things will happen. Then the reverse happens. The seed reverses. You become happy, and then they become happy because they are coming from you. So you feel disturbed because your friend is disturbed. Then you help someone else who's disturbed. You'll stop being disturbed, and the same seed will stop the other person from being disturbed. So can they make you disturbed? No. Can you stop them from being disturbed? Yes. Because they're coming from you. Got it? It's very sexy. Okay? It's kind of cool. You can do anything. You can fix anybody around you by take the seed out of yourself. And it's a very sweet process. We talked about the other night. It's fun to change the people around you. Because the way you do it is you take some seed out of you that you don't want anyway. So you can't lose anything. You're taking a seed out of you, and they change. And it's so easy. There's no discussion. You don't have to ask them anything. You don't have to discuss with them. All the discussions you ever had with your past ex-partners were wasted time. Okay? In Buddhism, you don't even have to talk to them, Just before you break up with somebody, you talk all night, and you think you're going to work it out, but you're just making it worse. And in Buddhism, you don't need any of that. You just go to the park and sit by yourself and take seeds out. And then they will change because they're coming from you. It's a very smooth process and a very delightful process, because it means just make yourself a nicer person and they have to change. It forces them to change. And it's so I hate tension, and I hate, confrontation. I just can't do it with anybody, anytime. I can't do it. I really don't like it. I can't take it, And I like Buddhism because I don't ever have to be confrontational. I go home, hide in my closet, take some seeds out, and then I come out the next day and the person's changed, and I'm like, whew. And I didn't have to talk to them because I don't like that. I don't like to talk to people like that, and I just work on myself and they change. And it's such a beautiful system. It's so nice. And according to Buddhism, there's no other way. The other ways don't work. So it's not only more pleasant, it's also the only thing that works. Okay? Other question? Yes, Lunchan.
Thank you for the depression story. And I've been really busy to think about it because I think I get a lot of them. Yeah. And I think probably not only me feel that. And if in DCI we teach everybody everything can be fixed, cleaned out by full power. Yeah. But somebody like Maba, how can he didn't know to do that?
Yeah. Good question. So she's saying there are these high Buddhist saints, and why did they have problems? If they were high Buddhist saints, they knew the four powers. They knew how to take out a bad karmic seed. Why didn't they just reach in and take out a karmic seed? And this is a hard answer, okay? It's an interesting answer. The less you understand a seed, negative seed, the faster it will grow. The degree to which you understand seeds affects how fast they grow. Okay? Like, if you want to find a partner, for example, or you want to fix something about your partner, let's say your partner is not affectionate. Like, they used to be affectionate, then you committed to them, and then they stopped being affectionate, like 6 months later, okay? Pretty common. So you entered a relationship with them because they were affectionate. And then after you committed, they stopped being affectionate. And like, it's very common with men, like they're hugging you and sending you flowers and writing poetry. Then you say, okay, we'll live together. And then suddenly the hugs stop, and then they're like, what's for dinner? So, the more you understand the seed, the faster it will grow. A good seed. Let's say I want to make my husband more affectionate. Okay, how do I do that? According to Buddhism, you have to be more friendly to other parties. People you see on the street, people you work with, dogs, it doesn't matter. You have to be more friendly, consciously, purposely, towards other living beings other than your partner. And then that karma will shift in your mind, and they will change. They will become more affectionate. The more you understand the process, the faster it works, okay? It's weird. Understanding how a karmic seed works is like chicken sitting on an egg, okay? The act of understanding a seed heats it up. It's very cool. And there's a pranic explanation. There's a yoga explanation. Focusing on a seed and understanding, making it more conscious that you planted affection in your husband, focusing on the seed, like before you go to sleep, heats it up and makes it grow faster. Okay? The opposite is also true. Okay? Not understanding a seed slows it down. And the existence of a negative seed blocks your understanding. Okay? It's really weird. So the minute somebody like Marpa makes a mistake with Naropa, creates a negative seed, that seed blocks their understanding also. You see what I mean? It not only creates a mistake in their relationship, it blinds them at the same time. It's like a cataract or something. Okay? Get it? It's the opposite of the good process. The good process, if you understand karma, it works faster. The opposite of that is, if you make a karma by accident, it blocks your understanding. You become stupider about karma. Okay, you see what I mean? Isn't it weird? You make a karma by accident with your teacher, and then it makes you more stupid. And then you don't understand karma as well as you did the day before. And then you make more mistakes. So it's a self-perpetuating thing. So how can great beings like Marpa not just clean up their karma and get it over with? Their understanding got obscured, jippa, because they made the accidental boo-boo with their lama. Okay? Bad news. Bad news, bears. Did you have a final question before we go home?
Is it blocked just pertaining to that one bad seed?
No, it's blocked with pertaining to all seeds.
And then does that also apply to the good seeds?
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you do a good seed unintentionally towards your lama, you're actually blocking...
No, you're increasing your intelligence by accident.
Even though it's done unconsciously and...
Yeah, because of the power of the object. So there are, as you know, there are 3 things which can increase the power of a karmic object, which are, number 1, gratitude towards someone. Your father and mother is an example. Someone who's in great need, or someone who's helping a lot of other people. So which one does the Lama go into?
All of them. Well,
definitely.
Not the second one. The first one.
Well, they've helped you, right? They're not in need, but they do help a lot of people. So I guess 1 in 3, right? Okay. But try to, I'll stop, but try to be sensitive to that process. You make a slip with your lama by accident, and the next morning you don't understand karma as well as you did the day before. It's a backwash effect. Okay? And then you're going to make more mistakes because you don't understand karma as well. And the opposite also happens. If you accidentally make your lama happy, how do you make your lama happy? Be nice to other people. Then you get smarter the next day. Okay? About karma. No, nothing. No, the nature of a seed is that as it delivers its result, it weakens. So you have to keep reinvesting seeds.
So it doesn't block your understanding forever.
No, there is no such thing. Or it wouldn't be true that everyone can become a Buddha. Yeah.
Can I just clarify
You sure?
one more thing on that point?
All right.
If your lack of understanding the seed is it's making you dumber, so it's making you not able to purify it. So, but I think the original is it making it stronger, or is it making it a weaker bad karma? The lack of understanding of it, because you can't purify it. So I would say that is bad. But like the other side of the coin is like lung sem jukpa chikpa, right? So like it seems like when you understand a good thing, that makes the good thing stronger.
That's true.
And when you don't understand a bad thing, so it's like your mind can't go there to make it.
There'd be less prana focused on the negative seed,
right?
So it'd be weaker.
That's what I'm thinking. Something like that.
It doesn't work like that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't work like that. It's actually the same amount of prana, but twisted prana. Something like that. How's that? Yeah. Okay. All right. Dennis, you up for it? Bugi Jushi Metotam Lira Ningshi Ninde Gambani Sangye Shindu Migde Umagi Dogu Namda Shina Chipasho Idam Guru Ratnamandana Kamyatayami Dikewokan Sanamishi Sotsokshin Sanamishi Nechui Tambakuni Topasho. Okay. Thank you for letting me teach this. Thank you for coming. It's really good for me, and I really appreciate it.